You want to know why couples fight over money? Well, stay tuned. This is the Lawyer Dana Show.
This is interesting. So this came out from psychologytoday.com.
Oh, we know they're always on.
And it says, talk to anyone about their relationships with their partners, and you'll discover that every couple has disagreements. So in an attempt...
Wow, very profound. Every couple has disagreements. Have you noticed that in your marriage?
To identify the contents of financial issues, I think the name wrong.
Oh, Pete's.
Pete's, is that what you would say?
Yeah.
Pete's,
They did a study. They did two studies.
Conducted, two studies. Study one, they gathered descriptions of fights about money from posts on Reddit. God bless you.
Posts on Reddit, huh? That's very scientific.
From this large pool of data, they were able to identify two overreaching themes when it came to money arguments. Ken, one was concerns about fairness. Mm-hmm. Number two was perceived responsibilities. And many of them identified these issues falling under these two overreaching themes. They list some more of the issues down below. And then they did a second study where they gathered data of financial conflict from couples in a committed relationship, and two overarching themes happened in study two. Concerns about fairness and responsibility reemerged. Yep. And additionally, new was mundane expenses, the conflict of that, which was related to disagreements about minor purchases, such as how much money you should spend on a birthday party.
Oh, 100%.
Or who can pay for related expenses. So
care-related, car-related expenses. So here's the thing. I identify with that one because we joked about this, I think, last time we were on the air. I get a little irritated at Stacey.
All of this stuff is solved by proper budgeting and proper communication, which the Financial Peace University will help you all work through.
He's spending money on like little gifts. And she's
Ken's
being
not a
responsible.
Ken's not
I
a giver.
am a giver, but women just find reasons to buy gifts, And so I remember early on. Now
it's a little sexist, Ken.
it's not a big deal. I'm talking early on when we were really trying to figure all this out.
Sure.
I'm talking early in marriage.
Yes.
Listen, I said I've been married 25 years. I've long since learned to.
It has nothing to do with women. It has to do with what someone's love language is. One of the love languages is gifts. And so somebody whose love language is gifts is going to, especially at the beginning of a marriage, buy a whole lot of gifts. And if your love language isn't gifts, you're going to have a problem and you're going to think it's a waste of money. Thankfully, my wife and I, neither one of our love languages is gifts. We don't get them for each other. We give quality time and words of affirmation. Those are real big in both of us. But The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman, read that, take the quiz, and it'll help you out tremendously.
Let that go, or I wouldn't be married this long. Okay,
so
this was a long time ago, but I do remember that, like little things, like, well, we're spending this much on this little party, or
right.
Here's another one that got us when the kids were little. They get invited to birthday parties. You're in the thick of this now. Or you're three getting in. At least the 2 girls are getting invited to birthday parties all the
consistently.
I'm going to venture to say that both your girls get invited to 5 to 10 parties a year minimum.
Sure.
True story?
Yes.
All right, but that adds up.
Oh, yeah. That's why I love Amazon, because you can get really cheap gifts.
And you have some good content on this on Instagram at Rachel Cruz. Check it out.
I know, because you could easily spend, for these toys that these kids want.
Ridiculous.
$50 easy.
It's ridiculous.
So I'm like, no, we're going to lower that.
$50.
Okay, so here's what's interesting about what they found, though, Ken. The first study, concerns about fairness and perceived responsibility. I think, tell me if I'm being naive, if you had all of your money together as a married couple, like we talk about, there's not technically fairness because you're seeing it all together, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter who brings in the income.
Yeah, but I think that the issue is the control. Who gets to decide and determine how all that money is spent? And that's a communication issue. That's the type of thing some marriage counseling might help with. But also, again, have your budgeting meeting. That's what the whole point of the budgeting meeting is that, all right, you're going to have this much in the budget for this. I'm going to have this much in the budget for this. I like to pick these things. You like to pick those things. A good budget takes care of all that.
The amount of money that hits our account is ours.
That's right.
And then perceived responsibility. We're all responsible for all the bills together because we're one.
Yeah, because a lot of people are thinking, well, I'm not responsible for that. They're abdicating a lot of their responsibility to the other person to make those decisions. Or somebody says, well, I earned it. I get to decide how it's spent. Both of those things are going to be an issue and problem in your marriage.
Actually, perceived irresponsibility And so if you look
that, we see a lot.
at that,
Perceived
so what they were saying is you're being irresponsible with debt, you're being irresponsible in planning. These were the things that came up that created conflict. So they were perceiving that their spouse was irresponsible in the areas of impulses, of course, gambling, broken promises.
Gambling will destroy a marriage faster than almost everything else, and so will alcoholism.
And then under fairness, I pointed this one out, terms of arrangement, such as should we combine finances? And we talk about
you should definitely combine finances. If you're not combining your finances, you really don't have a marriage. You have a partnership. And it's very, very difficult for you to get farther ahead.
That a lot. If you look at another one under fairness, contributions, who's paying these expenses, and it's like that all goes away.
Right.
If you do what Ramsey Solutions and what we believe, which is we're all on the same team. It's not
together.
All on the same team, all on the same page, both using the same process and coming to an agreement and sticking to it and having the discipline and doing it.
Our money, it's our money.
Yes,
right.
yes.
So pretty interesting.
Okay, but
there.
why does it say perceived responsibilities up here? Anyways.
Well, are you responsible or irresponsible? So what I'm saying is the findings were...
So not just specifically about what bills you're responsible for.
That's right. It's more about, are you responsible?
Because we see every different version of that.
Or irresponsible
in general.
As it relates to debt, budgeting. But here's the point. The reason I point that out is because a lot of tension there when one of them, this comes back to what our basic teaching as we begin to move people through Financial Peace University is the nerd or the spender. And so the idea is there can be tension there because the nerd, the natural saver, thinks that you're being irresponsible, and you go, slow your roll.
But see,
I'm not irresponsible. I'm just trying to live life and have fun.
Yep. 100%. Well, and what's interesting too about that.
Well, there are some people that are absolutely careless with their money, and there's a lot of people, far too many. Hopefully you're watching and we can correct and teach you some better behavior. There's far too many people that are irresponsible with their money and they're in debt up to their eyeballs. They're never going to get out. They have no plan to get out of it. They're not gazelle intense with it. They're not doing any of the baby steps, and they're just digging a bigger hole, and the hole is getting deeper and deeper and more difficult to get out of. You can get out of that type of hole. Go to Financial Peace University to find out how.
I'm like, even the nerd could actually be the spender. And like, that's mom and dad. Dad is the nerd, but he's way the spender. My mom is a little bit more the free spirit, doesn't care about the budget, but she's the saver. So you combine all this twisting of everything, and it's all braided together there in marriage and having to figure it out. So yeah, I mean, but this is a big thing, you guys, because under all of that is budgeting, impulse spending, gambling, broken promises, planning debt. So all of that, for the most part, overarching, I hate to say fixed, because I know it's just never quote unquote fixed, but it can be this level that, we actually are way more on the same team when you communicate, you sit down and you talk about it. So all of that, it's just fascinating. And then, all of the mundane expenses, which I tend to spend more money on.
So you take that's where ours that's right. But it's really, you nailed it there. I mean, that's what the study finds. That's where the tension lies. And so to the extent that you can go, all right, so responsibility, irresponsibility, what I'm feeling, this is a conversation to go, I feel this because this is the way I'm wired with money. Know Yourself, Know Your Money, a fabulous book that you wrote, really does help unpack stuff like this to know, wait a second, how I perceive money may be very different than how my spouse perceives money.
And probably is.
That's important to understand because that's where tension arises.
100%. And going into those conversations, you guys, this is one thing I feel like I've just learned over and over. It's humility. Like, I feel like I know what's right and I feel like I know what's good.
You got to listen.
But what if I don't know everything? And same with the spouse. Like, if you both come in and say, I feel like I can learn. So I want to learn. I want to hear what you have to say. And you both come in like that. Like, that's a totally different emotional take than I'm coming in with what I want, what I know is right. It's like these absolutes that I think really get us in trouble, Ken. And this is probably in so many other areas of marriage, but especially with money, like if you...
Yeah, you cannot be a dictator about this stuff. You have to have both people buy in. You have to have the patience to have the conversation and let both people go through the processes through their own minds and their own emotions for it to be real and for you to move together.
You are the spender. Go in with the saver, with your spouse, and be like, hey, what are they feeling? Because maybe they actually have wisdom going on within them that I can learn from. And then savers, same thing. Like go to your spender and say, gosh, what are areas of me that probably need control? Have a level of scarcity, like these things that could be negative on your side. What can you learn from your spouse? But that humility piece, I think putting the pride aside.
That's really good. I wrote down 4 words just looking at the study. And
do they all have the same beginning letter?
No, they don't.
Oh, man,
But
Ken.
it starts off that way. I wrote down same page, same account. I think the key to not having a bunch of big fights, same page. That means, what do we believe about debt?
Yep.
What do we believe about saving? Like, are we on the same page? Gambling. Right. That's right. Are we on the same page? It doesn't mean that we agree on everything, but it means we're on the same page. Stacey and I have realized this in parenting. I know you and Winston are in the middle of this. You're learning your parenting styles. And as the kids get older, the conflict gets greater and your styles come out. And we have learned that, and I think this is true of money, Stacey and I aren't always on the same line. There's lots of lines on the page.
Yep.
But we are on the same page. And I think with money, I think it's as complex as parenting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress in parenting too. And so I think if you're on the same page, we may not always only be on the exact same line, the same word, but we agree this is where we are on the same page. And I think that allows us to then go, okay, we do need to be on the same account. I'm still flabbergasted, Rachel, by the amount of couples that may be on the same page, but still have separate accounts. And that creates all kinds of weirdness.
All the time.
I don't know that you could truly be on the same page if you have separate accounts.
If you're paying for separate bills to run one household, that's just weird to me.
Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't help you get on the same page for goals, a shared future. So really interesting stuff, Rachel.
So get on that same page and like and subscribe. This is the Lawyer Dana Show.